All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the latest physique update from Carlos Thomas Jr. So if you guys needed a reminder of why there was so much initial hype when Carlos earned his pro card back in 2021, Carlos, I think, just refreshed everybody's memory, showing off just how impressive of a physique he really has. I want to draw your attention to his quad-to-waist ratio. Look at how tapered and small his waist is. And look how big. Honestly, his quads were a strong point when he turned pro. They were really impressive and really good sized back then, 2 years ago. But I think here, he's even made significant improvements from that starting point, and they look significantly bigger here. And his arms are just as crazy as his legs. I mean, this guy is the real deal. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him compete in the New York Pro this year like he was planning on doing because of an unforeseen health issue. And unfortunately, we still don't know when we're actually going to see him on stage. As you can see in the caption of this post, he's still trying to figure out entirely what's going on with his health and when he's going to be healthy enough to compete. But I really feel like in this conversation of these young up-and-coming guys that we've talked about so many times, how this era of bodybuilding seems to be the era of the newcomer, where guys turn pro and rise through the ranks pretty quickly. I really think Carlos can be one of those guys. He's got more of a 212 structure, I'll say, and I think he was initially planning on competing in 212, but he was going to make his pro debut at New York in the Open, and honestly, I think he would have been top 3. I think based on what we're seeing here, if his conditioning was, on point, I think he would have been one of the top guys in the New York Pro without a doubt. Based on the improvements we can clearly see that he's made. I think conditioning was the main thing that I would have liked to see him improve upon from the last time we saw him on stage when he earned his pro card. And I think that's going to be the thing that he needs to really level up if he's going to be a top IFBB pro that wins shows and places at the Olympia. But I don't think anybody can really deny that he has the physique to do that. Now we just need to see him next to the really big guys. With the structure being somewhat smaller, how does this look when you put him on stage next to a guy like Michael Krizo or a guy like Ian Valliere, Big Ramy, Samson Dowda? How does this physique fare in that lineup? Because we saw a shorter guy with a really good structure, Derek Lunsford, take top 2 at the Olympia this year, and a shorter guy, Hadi Chupin, win the whole thing. Could Carlos eventually be one of those guys? We won't know until we see him on stage next to the others. Now, speaking of a guy with really good structure and a guy kind of similar to Carlos Thomas Jr. in structure, although not quite on par with the quads. I think Keone would love to have Carlos's quads, but Keone posting what I think is probably the most impressive update that Keone has posted to date. This posing video of Keone, weighing 211 to 212 pounds, he says in the caption below. I think this is the single most impressive look that Keone has had of any physique update he's ever posted. From a size standpoint, I think this is bigger than we've ever seen Keone. Rounder, fuller, but also I think the most conditioned that we've seen him at that size. His upper body looks insane. And just like I said with Carlos Thomas Jr., we noticed significant, I think, size increase on the legs. I think with Keone, you can see significant increase in the size of the upper body. And we've talked about this over the past couple weeks as Keone has posted more and more updates as he's getting closer to competing. He's 13 weeks out from the time that this video was taken. But these updates from Keone make me excited to watch 212, something I don't typically get as nearly as excited for as I do for men's open bodybuilding. But Keone is a guy that I really think has a shot at that title. I've said this time and time again. He's one of my favorite bodybuilders right now. And if, similar to Carlos Thomas Jr., he's got great structure, but if he can really nail that conditioning is where I think he can excel and be one of the top guys in 212. I think last year in 2022, he brought better conditioning, certainly better than he had brought the year prior, but still not quite where it needed to be top 3. But I think with this added size, as long as Keone's in some kind of shape at the Olympia, he's going to be very competitive with this new physique that he's bringing. The roundness and fullness that we're seeing from Keone here with this tiny little waist in the condition that he's in at 13 weeks out is insanely impressive to me. And I think Keone, whatever he's doing, him and his coach Patrick Tour, whatever they're doing right. Because I don't think anybody can look at what we're seeing from Keone and deny that we are seeing, I think, rapid improvements in Keone's physique overall. And when you think about the fact that he only weighs 210 pounds, 211 pounds in this update, it's mind-blowing that he weighs that little because he looks so big. So I like that right off the top in this video, we've got two bodybuilders right now with recent physique updates that have really incredible structure and shape to their physique. Small waist, V-taper, vacuum pose, and then the flare back out. For Keone, it's more so the flare back out from the waist to the lats. But with Carlos, that flare from the waist to the quads, flaring outwards like that because his quads are so big, is pretty crazy. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, specifically about Carlos, because we haven't talked about him in a while. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him compete. Do you think he can be a threat in men's open bodybuilding? And also about Keone. With these latest updates from Keone, do you now believe, some of you guys that weren't believers before, do you believe he has a shot at the top 3 at the 212 Olympia, a shot at the Olympia title in 212? And he's also said that he's got plans to go to open when he's done with 212 after he wins the title. Could he do well in open like Derek Lunsford did? My answer to both those questions, I think, is yes and yes. Now, next up in the news, another series of physique updates from Sergio Oliva Jr. Still no confirmation yet on when we're going to see him compete. It still looks like that's something he's trying to do. By the looks of that caption, he says 286 pounds this morning. Trying to pull a rabbit out of my hat. Let's see what the fates have in store for me. Now, obviously, the Cali Pro is coming up this weekend. And obviously, we didn't see Sergio's name on that list. And obviously, he's wanted to do that show. He said in interviews. While he initially had his eye on the Arnold Classic Brazil, and that was a show that he was thinking about doing, he wasn't able to travel there and compete. He said in interviews since then that he was looking at New York and Cali as both possible opportunities to compete. New York being a show he's already won. New York came and went. He hasn't competed. The Cali Pro list comes out. His name's not on it. Again, it makes you wonder what is going on with Sergio's status. Can he travel or can't he? And if he can't, why? And I'm guessing that when he says, I'm trying to pull a rabbit out of my hat, let's see what the fates have in store for me. I'm guessing they're working on that visa. They're working on trying to get, I would think, to the Cali Pro. Because keep in mind, he's been in prep for a while now, and he was originally going to try to do the Arnold Classic show in Brazil, and that was 5 weeks ago. After Cali comes and goes, that's going to be a month and a half. And I think the next big show on the radar after the Cali Pro would be Toronto, which we know we're going to see Hassan Mustafa. We're going to see Ian Valliere do that show. Is that a possibility for Sergio? I don't know if the travel restrictions or whatever's, we don't know exactly what is prohibiting him from traveling or from competing. But would it be easier to get into Canada than the United States? I don't know, maybe. But that's the first weekend of June. And a little bit further on after that, you've got the Spain show where we're having Michael Crizzo compete. And the guy we talked about a couple videos ago, Joan Pradels. It'd be easier for Sergio to get to Spain. Anyway, my point is, he's been prepping for a while. He's been kind of in the area where he's thinking about trying to peak for a show between the Arnold Brazil, New York, and now Cali. That's like 6 weeks of a span of him trying to peak and refine for one of these shows, not knowing which one he's going to be able to do. I really want to see Sergio be able to compete. I think he's really looking impressive in these updates. 286 pounds. He's one of the bigger guys. Probably that's going to show up to any of these shows, especially based on what we've seen from the lineup for Cali Pro right now. Sergio, I think, would be the favorite. But it certainly seems like this traffic issue, this violation that Sergio had in the jail time that he did, is kind of becoming maybe a bigger thorn in his side, maybe a bigger issue than he anticipated. But I, for one, I'm pulling for him, man. I want to see Sergio do well. So shout out to Sergio. Next up in the news, we got an update from Beef Stew, your runner-up at the New York Pro. We know he's doing the Cali Pro. We got an update from him at 4 days out from the Cali Pro at 252.5 pounds. He says he was 250 on the dot on stage on New York. And honestly, this same update, 5 days out from the New York Pro, same poses, same angles, same pictures, he was 253.1. I think he looks significantly drier, significantly more detailed, just crisper all around in these updates for the Cali Pro. And maybe he peaks better for the Cali show than he did in New York. So I'm interested to see this rematch between him and Tonio Burton because honestly, I think this Beef Stew guy, Stuart Sutherland is his real name, I think he really exceeded expectations at the New York Pro. I think some people did expect him. I thought he would be a top 2, top 3 guy even before seeing prejudging. But I think prior to this past couple weeks in this build-up to the New York Pro, not a whole lot of people really knew the name Beef Stew until that Hunter Labrada guest posing and until kind of the build-up from that to New York. his name kind of got bigger, but now I think a lot of people know who Beef Stew is. They recognize the hair, they recognize the name, and now they recognize the physique. But what do you guys think? Do you think he has a shot here in Cali to take one away from Tonio Burton? Because Tonio is going to be showing up there as well. Tonio beat him in New York. And it is worth pointing out that on the scorecards, Tonio had straight votes for first. 3 points and 3 points at both prejudging and finals. It was an undisputed, unanimous win over Beef Stew in New York. Can Stew turn the tables and beat him in Cali? How likely do you think that is? Let me know in the comments down below. But we did get another update from Tonio Burton at just a couple days out from the Cali Pro. Looking just as impressive as he looked in New York. And maybe, I think if Tonio comes in even tighter, he would have even more of a slam dunk victory here. I do think, while as good as he looked in New York, I thought he could have been a little bit tighter and a little bit sharper. Some people were saying that the size difference between Beef Stew and Tonio was overwhelming. They thought that Stew was much bigger than Tonio. I think in some shots, the angle, you could make that argument for sure. But I think once you looked at the actual HD pictures and you could see it in sharp clarity, you could see that Tonio's condition was ahead of Beef Stew's. His shape was a little bit better, and I think that's why he ended up winning. And his proportions, the big thing with Tonio, I think, is how proportionate he is. He's got this crazy round, full, bubbly muscle, but it's very proportionate. His shoulders, his chest, his arms, his legs, everything is very, very well balanced. And the distribution of development is just very even across the board. I think he's just got a very complete, very balanced physique, and that's what makes him so dangerous. You can't really point to one of his body parts and say that's his weakness. He's just overall very balanced and very complete. And when he comes in with good conditioning like this, it's really hard to beat him. But like you guys saw on the Olympia stage, that wasn't enough. And you saw these guys that were bigger than Tonio where he did get outsized, but these guys that were much bigger than him at the Olympia, they also came in with better or comparable conditioning, and that's why they beat him. And some of them even better proportions. So that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Give me your Cali Pro predictions in the comments down below. What do you guys think is going on with Sergio? What do you think about Keone and Carlos Thomas Jr.? Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. All that good stuff if you haven't already. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.